Hi, my name is Tiffany Willis, and I am doing my presentation on the effects of materialism, society's fight for greater. I initially chose to do my report on materialism because there is a starving need for self-actualization in regards to materialism. Um, Materialism is giving rise to unethical behavior, low self-esteem, and allowing people to let go of their morals and who they are in efforts to gain possessions and success. So, the goal and objective here is to answer the question, what happens when we organize our lives around materialistic pursuits? This study will advance our understanding of how materialism works by examining how it's related to the choices people make and the behavioral outcomes. So, what is materialism? Materialism can be broken down into two separate definitions. The first definition is the belief that matter is the only thing that exists and that all things can be reduced to matter. The second definition is the unquenchable desire to accumulate things and the belief that when those desires are fulfilled, we achieve happiness. So I will be focusing on the latter. Another important key term that will be mentioned throughout this presentation is ethical behavior. Ethical behavior is acting in ways consistent with what society and individuals typically think are good values. So, a brief background on materialism um, is the first. First, I'll start out with Ward and Wackman. Ward and Wackman are two researchers that believe materialism is an orientation which considers money and material objects as critical for social progress and personal happiness. Engelhardt, a professor, believed that materialism is an economic orientation to life that gives priority to economic values and exceeds other values such as friendship, civil power, and freedom. Belk, another researcher, believed that materialism is an importance a consumer attaches to the worldly possession and a personality trait which consists of three elements: envy, non-generosity, and possessiveness. Overall, materialism is believed to provide the greater sources of satisfaction as well as dissatisfaction. So, overall, most researchers believe that there are more negative outcomes and challenges to materialism than there are challenges, but there are few researchers to say that there are some benefits to materialism. One of the benefits to materialism is that it influences the type and quantity of goods purchased and the allocation of resources, including time. Some researchers say that materialists who evaluate their standard of living using reality based expectations are likely to feel more economically motivated than their non materialistic counterparts. And this economic motivation is likely to contribute significantly and positively to life satisfaction. Like I mentioned before, there are many challenges of materialism. One of the many challenges is mounting credit card debt. In society, we are taught that more is better. The bigger the house, the better. The nicer, the fancier the car, the better. The more money, the better. The more success we have, the better, the greater. So with that, people, in efforts to receive all of these possessions, people mount credit card debt. And that is a huge challenge to materialism. Another challenge is there's an increase in numbers of self-storage facilities to house the things that we compulsively buy. A third challenge is people risk their jobs. People risk their reputation, their morals, and even their family in unethical efforts to gain material possessions. Materialists who strive to improve their lot are more to focus solely on themselves, which gives rise to unethical behavior. One researcher said, Mark Piff, you can think of this self-perpetuating cycle when promotion of self-interest increases status in society, which further increases willingness to behave unethically. It may help explain the runaway rise in inequality in the last 50 years, at least in this country. When allowed to go uncurbed, self-interest is what gives rise to breaking the rules. So there have been many companies that have been criticized for their unethical behavior. One of the well-known companies that have been criticized for their unethical behavior is Nike. Nike has been criticized for their sweatshops. They have forced their employees to work over 60 hours each week and punished if they refuse to work overtime. Women within this company are much underpaid, and workers are both verbally and physically abused. Another company is McDonald's. McDonald's has been criticized for their third world because they promote third world poverty. They sell unhealthy food. They exploit their workers and children, torture animals, as well as destroy the Amazon rainforest, all in efforts to make money and a name for themselves. There is also obviously materialism amongst individuals. Materialists are characterized by low self-esteem, and they use materialistic accomplishments to increase their self-worth. Materialists can easily be led astray by committing immoral practices in order to reach their achievements. Materialism will affect a person's well-being, which is like their life satisfaction, their happiness, and their self-actualization. Um, when focusing solely on materialistic pursuits, the outcomes are things such as depression, anxiety, and behavior disorders. So, how do we overcome materialism? Researchers say that there are interventions out there that encourage essential values and goals, um, as well as encouraging to ignore these materialistic messages that are thrown at us each and every day. For example, um, TV advertisements, billboard advertisements are all in efforts to persuade us and guide us towards that materialistic lifestyle. As we consciously ignore these messages and um, and these things and materialistic efforts that are being thrown at us, we can easily avoid being materialistic. Spiritual leaders also say that increasing your morals and your faith will lessen the need for possessions and leave feelings of happiness and contentment. So, the conclusion here, when possessions come to be the focus of one's life, becoming more important than friends, family, ethical standards, and even religion, there can be an overall negative effect on the decisions that people make. Materialism is a widespread tendency that affects the lives of many, both positively and negatively. Materialism increases unethical behavior, discontentment, and other immoral practices. Materialism can obviously be associated with greed, and materialism can be overcome with the implementation of successful interventions, increased morals, and faith. Thank you. That is all that I have for my presentation.